to the Third Republics and also important personalities from across the world. On the day of the country's political independence, on March 6, 1957, the government invited functionaries, including the Duchess of Kent and the Prime Minister of Britain, Mr. Harold Macmillan, to grace the occasion at the Old Parliament House. The Old Parliament House was also used by the Second Republican Parliament to conduct its activities until the Constitution was suspended and Parliament abolished by a military coup organized by the National Redemption Council (NRC) on January 13, 1972. The Old Parliament House was reportedly relocated because of its limited space, as it could not accommodate new MPs elected in the 1992 parliamentary elections. Before the building caught fire in December 2013, the edifice housed the offices of the Commission of Human Rights and Administrative Justice, CHRAJ, used to investigate allegations of corruption and financial impropriety against some leading members of the first government under the Fourth Republic.
A group made up of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition, and the Center for Democratic Development are calling for a total deletion of Subclause 4 of Clause 3 of the proposed Special Prosecutors Bill 2017. The coalition further wants the Office of the Special Prosecutor to be able to investigate and prosecute corrupt officials based on facts of specific allegations.
Former Attorney General and anti-corruption campaigner Martin Amidu had earlier argued the insertion of Clause 3(4) negates the whole bill before Parliament. He argues this was done by a strong and a powerful cabal which wishes to harvest its share of proceeds of corruption that comes with public officers who find their way into public office through the deception of appointing authorities. In a presentation for the coalition at a stakeholders conference on the creation of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh said the clause in its current state will only invite constant litigation over the mandate of the Special Prosecutor.
It is couched in such broad and vague terms that if enacted into law, we believe it would serve only to invite constant and needless litigation over the mandate or jurisdiction of the office.
He also believes there must be room for the office to act on tips and information rather than strictly adhering to the formal complaints procedure.
We believe that in fighting corruption, room must be left for the office to act on tips, on leads, on information from people who would want to invoke the protections of the Whistleblower Act, for example, and who would want anonymity for one reason or the other. And therefore, a formal complaint procedure, in our view, would unduly handicap the work of the office.
First Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Joseph Oseusu, says the law, no matter how well it is crafted, will not be sufficient in itself to wholly curb corruption and impunity.
This bill, if passed into law, has the potential to erase the perception that political office holders and their proteges are above the criminal laws of the land.
We now move to education, and the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, has given hints it may embark on a nationwide strike beginning Monday, 18 September 2017. The move is in solidarity with their colleagues at the University of Education, Winneba. Now, the lecturers there have accused the governing council of the university of showing no commitment to resolving their matter. Let's go on the phone line and speak with Dr. Harry Adban, who is the national president, University Teachers Association of Ghana. Good afternoon, Doc, and thanks for your time.
Good afternoon, my sister.
Now,
thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome, sir. Now, what exactly is your matter with management of the school?
My sister, I'm sure you are aware that for some time now, in July, a court has imposed management on the University of Winneba and has asked that the members, the VC, and then the finance officer stepped aside for the Pro-VC to act as the Vice Chancellor. The court again made a statement to the effect that it expected that the Governing Council, when formed, would look at the issues and resolve the problem. Unfortunately, since the reconstitution of the Governing Council of that university, no commitment has been shown to resolve the problem and for these officers to resume their positions as mandated by the Act and Statutes of that university. We consider that as an attack on academic freedom, a freedom which is a prerequisite for, studies and for research and for learning in any university all over the world. So we think that we cannot allow that to pass because we are in the community of universities in the world and we are becoming a laughing stock among our colleagues elsewhere. So we are starting up to defend academic freedom in our country.
Now, the court ruling which you mentioned ordered that the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Mautavoke, and the Chief Finance Officer to hand over to the Pro-Vice-Chancellor because they were appointed by a governing council whose mandate had expired. Is UTAG not, by your action, going against the rule of law?
Not at all. Not at all. That's why I said that the court, in doing so, thought that the formation or the reconstitution of council would be a solution to the problem. But this council has been reconstituted over a month ago or about 2 months ago, and yet the actions of the chairman of the council do not show any commitment in resolving the problem and asking these, officers to resume their positions. The second point I want to make is that it is not a court that appoints management for any of our universities, public universities. The appointment of management of our universities is vested in the Act and the statutes of the university. And so no court in Ghana has that authority to decide who becomes the Vice-Chancellor of a particular university. No. That is why we are saying that that effort by some individuals who hijack the freedom of our institutions must be resisted. And we're calling on you, all of us as Ghanaians, well-meaning Ghanaians, to stand up to this, to ensure that we don't have external influences in the administration of our universities.
Now, you also touched about the governing council. How far with deliberations? You touched on the chairman, but aside that, they're made up of a team. What do you make of the deliberations so far?
Come again.
How far have you gone with deliberations when it comes to the governing council of the university?
my sister, you are a journalist, and I think that you can find out from the university, from other members of the council, what the activities of that council has been over the period. The point is that the man who is the chairman of that council is also the president of JE University College, being mentored by University of Education, Winneba. And if the president of that university is now the council chairman of that, the mentoring university, I think there's a problem with that. We think that he does not qualify to be there. But for whatever reason that politicians put him there, we don't know whether there is an agenda that they think that he is the only person who can champion. That is, we don't know. But all we are saying is that we don't care who becomes the chairman of any council. It is the prerogative of the president. But we will stand up to anybody who wants to take academic freedom for granted in any of our institutions. An attack on academic freedom in any institution is an attack on all of us in this country.
All right, well, thank you so much. I have been speaking to the UTAG president, and he is Dr. Harry Agbanu. Next. we have What Do You Think? And today, we're looking at the implementation of the free SHS.
The free SHS policy and the computer placement system has been fraught with several challenges, but the policy has been rolled out anyways. Now people are questioning its sustainability, bearing in mind that government is bearing all the cost there is to people entering senior high school. What do you also think?
I think it's a really good initiative by the government. As of now, I don't really know if they can sustain it, and I don't think the government should fully pay. Maybe parents that are able to pay for their children's fees should be allowed to pay for it.
I don't know much about how we can sustain it exactly, but now that I started, let's try our best to avoid corruption in these cases where we know government is paying for certain things, and then schools will also charge for other things maybe they are not supposed to be taking monies for. The free SHS is a good initiative by the government, and then we should support them as much as we can and pray and hope that it will work.
From what the president said the last time, he's indicating that they'll use the oil money, part of the oil money, and then also commit part of the government's budget in supporting it. And I think if the government does all these things, it can be sustained, and it's going to help the future of many Ghanaians.
If the government haven't put in place measures to take care of this free SHS, I don't think they will even bring it up. So I don't know, but I believe in this government.
I'm a beneficiary because my daughter has benefited. I sent her to Every Girls on Monday. I had everything for free. For example, they give us free school uniforms. We didn't pay any fees, and I kept on asking, what do we pay? How do we go to the dormitory? And they told us that everything is free. So I sent my daughter, and everything actually is free. So I'm very happy.
Now to politics, the People's National Convention, PNC, has warned individuals within the party to stay away from unity talks with any other political parties. According to the Communications Director, Emmanuel Wilson Jr., the PNC will go into unity talks with only one, which is the Convention People's Party, CPP, after 3-member committee set up by the party comes out with its recommendations.
The People's National Convention PNC is considering going for Congress in 2018 to elect its national executives and flag bearer. A resolution by the Standing Committee on Saturday, September 9 said elections will be held separately for national officers and the flag bearer position. The Communications Director, Emmanuel Wilson Jr., said the party is reorganizing and strategizing to capture power in the 2020 general election.
We are no more going to rely so much on the individual who is the flag bearer. We know that if you strengthen the political party, whoever becomes the flag bearer will automatically make an impact. And so we want to strengthen the party, and that's why we want to have the national executives elected first before the flag bearer comes in.
He stressed the 3-member committee will find practical ways on how to go about the unity talks with the CPP before the end of the year.
The unity talk that the Congress decided that we should go into, there is a unity with the CPP and not with any other political party. And so if any individual decides to go into a unity talk with any other party aside CPP, that person will be working ultra-virus, working beyond the powers. We don't have that mandate.
The Communications Director also described the attitude of the National Chairman, Bernard Mona, to take back a vehicle he claimed was given to the party during elections as disappointing.
I am amazed that any individual will want to claim ownership of something that was given him as a result of the position he holds in the party. As a standing committee, we requested the chairman to also tell us the facts of the matter. Strangely enough, the chairman refused to speak on it.
The PNC went into the 2016 elections led by Dr. Edward Mahama, the current ambassador at large, attracting 22,298 votes, representing 0.21%, the worst performance by the party in general elections.
We move back to education, and the Conference of Heads of Private Secondary Schools want government to extend its policy on the free SHS to private schools. And this afternoon I've been joined on the phone by Naftali Cheba, who is the Public Relations Officer of the Coalition of Heads of Private Senior High Schools. Good afternoon and thanks for your time.
Good afternoon and thank you for having me.
Now, your coalition says that it is disappointed in the implementation of the free SHS policy. What specifically are your reasons?
Thank you very much, and let me use this opportunity to say a very good afternoon to your viewers and listeners at the same time. In fact, we have registered our displeasure towards the implementation of the free SHS. But let me equally state that we are not against the free SHS. We feel any policy that seeks to promote education and also relieve burden on parents, we think it's expedient, it's prudent, and it's commendable. But the argument we're making is that I think government has refused to take into cognizance the role of private senior high schools in this country, and the agenda and the step government is taking might end up collapsing our system. One, as we speak now, almost gone were the days, somewhere 2005, thereabout, we had cut-off points for this JHS entry, where a candidate who gets, like, say, at grade 24 would surely get admission and above. Any candidate gets at grade 25, 26, thereabout, will not get admission. Same in somewhere 2010, it rose up to at grade 36. Those days, the people who do not qualify, they are the people who mop up, admit those people, train them to still help government to move on. Now that the extension has been done, we are not against it. But what policies and plans does government have for this private senior higher institutions? We are thinking that as we speak, some students who are at grade 40, 45, whatever, have been posted to some tier 3 schools who do not even have facilities to accommodate them. While private institutions have well-furnished laboratories and equipment and facilities to accommodate the students, their self-placement website that the Ghana Education Service has started, where candidates who have not yet been posted can go there to even place themselves. Private schools are not enlisted there, that a candidate can even choose that I want to equally be in private school. So when people who even opt and decide to be in private school, the system is so much unfair that they don't have the opportunity to even choose.
Okay, Natalie, if I can hold you there. Now, what have you done about this? Have you met stakeholders or even government on this concerns that you've raised? And on what basis do you have with some of the concerns you've raised? What shows that parents indeed don't want their children to benefit from this free SHS policy put in place by government other than opting for private schools?
Fortunately for us, even before the introduction of the free SHS, we had the opportunity of meeting stakeholders, we had the opportunity of meeting the ministry, we made our concerns known to them. So we were thinking that the things we presented will be considered as far as the introduction of this policy is concerned. We feel that in a way it's probably an attempt to collapse the system. When we are talking of the free SHS, granted somebody even decides that I have opted, I want to be in a private school. Why can't same be extended there in the sense that if you have earmarked anything, let's say 1,000 cities or 500 cities, and a friend opts to go to private secondary school, it means that that friend should enjoy the same 500 and should be ready if there is any addition. The parent will decide that fine. The people are charging, let's say, 700, but government has paid 500, which means that I'm only adding 200. He can enjoy an affordable quality education equally from a private sector instead of going to have a compromise one probably in a tier 3 public school somewhere who do not even have the facilities to even do science.
Now, have you reverted to government to find out why some of the recommendations you made in the meetings you touched on were not implemented or added to what you mentioned?
No, government. For now we cannot think for government because.
No, I'm not asking if you should think. I'm asking that have you reverted to government to find out why the recommendations you made have not taken? They've not taken those recommendations.
We have been knocking our doors of government all the time, and that is why we feel that its experience will hit the media. I'm sure that will be the only language government will understand. That desperate moment will start desperate measures. So hitting the media, government will know that indeed private schools are about to collapse, and we are desperate, and they have to listen to us.
Well, thank you so much. I have been speaking with the PRO of the Coalition of Private Schools on their concerns on the free SHS. Now, there are at least 93 children with disabilities worldwide, with majority unlikely to attend school, access to medical services, or have their voices heard in society, and that's according to UNICEF. But the story is different for pupils at the New Horizons Special School here in Accra.
Children learn at their own pace, but some, particularly those with special needs, require a little extra push. It's another day at the New Horizons Special School.
Parents, please bring your children with special needs to school. Don't hide them. After all, it's the same world that we all live in.
What would you like to tell parents who have children with special needs?
I like to tell them that they will have to come to school.
Here, children with diverse needs, including those with visual and hearing impairments, cerebral palsy, autism and Down syndrome, are given the opportunity to develop their potential to lead productive and satisfying lives.
This is my first special school that I'm teaching. They love me so much. When they are in the house and misbehaving, parents will call us and we talk to them, and it's like everything is settled.
Training in vocational and daily living skills is also provided for children and adults with special needs with very little supervision.
What are you doing now?
I'm doing factory work. I used to sew a small ball.
And their work speak volumes.
Okay, what are you doing?
Yes, so this is a local snack that we are preparing. We're using plantain, pepper, onion. It's just like kakro, but this one you bake instead of frying.
Despite the feats achieved in educating children with special needs, some are still uneducated and remain at home due to the stigma associated with their disability. Despite the commitments made by government and its inclusive education policy, children with disabilities are still at risk of stigma, militating against their chances in accessing quality education. Pupils at the New Horizons Special School, however, want to prove they can indeed reach their full potential. One pupil had a message for TV3.
God bless TV3. Person the new person entertainment.
Portia Gabo, TV3 News.
Remember, you can send your comments on our social media platforms, Facebook and Twitter, as News on TV3. Let's move on to other stories. And President Akufo-Addo has reiterated the need to support young entrepreneurs to develop, to enhance the economic development of the country. The president said this when students from the Manfi Methodist Girls' School called on him at the Flagstaff House.
The students and the teachers, led by former President Jerry John Rawlings, were at the Flagstaff House to present an award for placing fifth in a global entrepreneurial competition in Ukraine to the president.
I think they decided to use ties because we've been throwing them away. And so they came out. I was the first person to be given sample of it. I thought it was a good idea. So why don't we join the competition? So the competition was held in Ghana, and many schools from Cape Coast came. It was done at Northford University, and we won the competition.
One of the contestants, Innocent Amefa, explained how they got into the competition.
We have noticed poor waste management is a problem in our country, Ghana. We devised ways of turning old car tires into comfortable chairs, plastic bottles into pencil cases, pieces of fabrics we collect from tailoring centers into fashion products, and also sachets of rubbers into lining of these fashion products to make them waterproofed. This our great business plan landed us in a competition called SAGE, which is the acronym for Students for the Advancement of Global Entrepreneurship.
Jonathan Insebo is a coordinator of the Student for Advancement of Global Entrepreneurship.
At the end of the competition, a winning school represents Ghana in the World Cup. And fortunately this year, the Methodist Girls Senior High School represented Ghana in Ukraine. And during the competition, it was a tough one. We had 30 countries, all from Europe and then America, coming for the competition. But fortunately, our students stood out as the fifth in their category, which is the SRB, Social Responsible Business.
Former President Jerry John Rawlings, who sponsored the trip for the team, could not hide his excitement. President Akufo-Addo, who was elated about the feat of the young girls, encouraged young people to come up with innovative ideas.
We're trying to create a situation whereby young people can express themselves and bring their talents to the fore. And that's exactly what you represent. These are the ways we can develop our country. And I'm very, very, very happy that you have taken this very big step in this area. It's something that will rebound to the benefit of Ghana. I have no doubt at all in my mind.
The girls also won gold in the SDG category of the competition.
You're still watching Midday Live. You're still watching Midday Live, and thanks for staying. President of the Center for Persons Living with Disability, Alex Tete, is calling for sanctions for public institutions whose buildings are inaccessible to persons with disability. Well, Section 60 of the Disability Act mandates owners or occupiers of such places to provide appropriate facilities to make them accessible and available for use by persons living with disability. Well, we'll try and get you that story shortly, but this afternoon I have been joined in the studio by Alex Tete, and they're raising some concerns. Alex Tete is with the Center for Employment for Persons with Disability. Alex, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And thanks for your time. Now, this is something that you've spoken about over and over again, and it's been 11 years since the enactment of the Disability Act, and this issue has come up again. Are you frustrated?
Yes, we are. We are, because I mean, we've talked about it. We've raised concerns that by the 10 years, all public buildings should be made accessible. And here we are, 11th year, and nothing whatsoever. No statement from even government to say that we are in the 11th year and public buildings, owners of public buildings should make sure their places are accessible. So we are so much worried.
Now, would you say that the rights of persons living with disability, we've just failed to ensure that we protect their rights?
Yes, I can say that, because, I mean, access to public buildings is a huge part of the rights of people with disability, because movement is key. If you are not able to move, you can't achieve your dream. You can't access whatever provision or facility government has for you or public sector as for you. So, I mean, we have failed in projecting the rights of persons with disabilities.
And has the talking yielded any results at all?
I would say that it hasn't, but we would continue to talk.
But when you move out to some new buildings, you realize that some measures have been put in place for persons living with disability.
Just a few, just a few. I mean, major buildings. Look at the whole ministries, and you can only talk about the Ministry of Employment and Social Labor Relations. Apart from that, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Trade, just that. The rest of the buildings of the ministries are not accessible. Not only that, most of the courts, apart from the court complex, even the court complex, the lift sometimes doesn't work. You need to climb. I mean, about 2 months ago, we had a case there. We have to climb a lift. The lift, sometimes you climb the lift, it doesn't take you to the floor you want to go. You need to descend, climb down, and climb stairs. And so most of the courts, most of the police stations are not accessible. And restaurants, hotels are not accessible. Most of employment avenues where offices are not accessible. So we have not come far at all in terms of accessibility.
Now, so what's the way forward when it comes to groups like yours who are championing the cause of persons living with disability?
There are a number of options available to us as social advocates or civil society movements. And that is why last Saturday I made the call that government must begin sanctioning, because it's government's responsibility to ensure that the law it has passed is being adhered to. If you have children, you are in a house, you have father, you have children, you've made a law, and that law seems to provide some relief to some members of the family, and nobody is obeying the law. It is the responsibility of the father to ensure that that law is enforced, and whoever violates the law is sanctioned. So it's government responsibility to ensure that all those buildings that are not accessible. The grace period has passed. We are in the 11th year. So ask them, why are they not providing access to those buildings?
Okay.
So government must take up.
All right, thank you so much. I have been speaking to President of the Center for Employment for Persons with Disability, Alex Tete. We're grateful for your time. You're still watching Midday Live. Thanks for staying. You're still watching Midday Live. Let's do business now. When management of GCB Bank is terminating the appointment of about 1,000 workers of the now defunct UT and Capital Banks, according to the management of GCB, the claim of the workers with regards to their salary arrears, wages, leave, severance pay, and other entitlements will be dealt with in accordance with the provisions of the Labour Act 2003. Now, to get a lot more understanding into this development, I will be speaking to a Labour expert, Senyo Ajabing, and then also Joe Jackson. I do have him in the studio. He's a financial analyst. Now, let me start with you, Joe Jackson. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thanks for your time. Now, before I start, let me go to the phone line and speak to Senyo, whom I'm told is on the line now. Now, good afternoon, Senyo, and thanks for your time.
Good afternoon.
Now, what interpretation can you put to this letter?
Well, it's a bit confusing, but if we are to actually interpret the letter in terms of perhaps the implications at law as well as technicality, then it means that the employees no longer have any employment status at all, including
do I still have Senyo on the line?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Great. So I'm saying that per this letter, then it means that the employees do no longer have an employment status with either the closed entities or the acquiring bank, which is GCB, because it was understood that when the banks were closed down and GCB came in, the employees were in the interim supposed to be employees of GCB. So if their contracts are being terminated now by the receiver, then the implication is that they no longer have any employment contract with any of the entities. Now, I presume that it is just the titling of the letter that might be the problem, because this letter's content indicates a notification to the employees about what has happened. Perhaps the one-on-one meetings they had with the employee body is being put on paper and formally informing the workers. But to title it as termination of employment, that creates a lot of issues.
All right. Now, thank you so much, Senor Ajabing. He is a labor expert. Now, let me come to you, Joe Jackson. First, what are the implications?
Well, first of all, it's a tough day for all workers of Capital Bank and UT. But what I believe is happening is that the receivers are saying that whatever claim you had on UT in terms of anything from salary arrears to leave, etc., we're terminating. We know that GCB says, I will employ you, so you're going to have some sort of contract, possibly some of them, maybe not even all of them, or some sort of contract for a maximum of 6 months, for which they will evaluate and then decide whether they want to keep you or not. Because to be frank, the branches of UT and Capital Bank must be kept running. Business is still happening. Now, so some of the staff need to be in place. Remember that the appointments of the senior executives have been terminated. That was done earlier on.
Impact on the economy as well as impact on GCB Bank. Positive, negative?
Well, the truth of the matter is that GCB Bank has already taken over the assets of the assets and some of the liabilities of these two banks. So there's really no issue to do with this being positive or worse. This clarifies the situation. As I say, we are not taking on the liabilities, any HR liabilities from the old system. So it's a positive thing for, if I was a shareholder or a stakeholder in GCB, it's a positive thing. For the economy, it's terrible. It's another 1,000 people who are possibly going to come onto the list of the unemployed with all the concomitant negative issues that come with it. I lived in Nigeria when some redundancies happened in the financial sector, and it was terrible. You see somebody who has a job today, walking around, feeling good. The next month, nothing.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Joe Jackson. He is a financial analyst, and we're looking at the UT Bank, Capital Bank takeover by GCB and workers whose appointments have been terminated. You're still watching Midday Live. Next, we have sports with Yao Fusulabi.
Right, it's time now to do sports here on Midday Live. My name is Yao Ofusulabi. Now on to our first story now. Ghana captain Asamoah Gyan is adamant he still has a lot to contribute to the Black Stars as the debate over his continuous stay in the team mounts. Also, Asamoah Gyan there saying that he's not, going to retire very soon. But let's move on to other stories, and we'll come back to the Asamoah Gyan story. And Sule Muntari has rubbished media reports claiming he has been arrested in Italy for failing to fulfill some financial commitments with his agents, and has threatened to sue the newspaper that carried out the erroneous reports. Reports were rife in the Spanish media in the early hours of Tuesday, which went viral in Italy and Ghana, that the superstar had been arrested with his vehicle impounded over big money problems with his former agents. But the former Milan star has rubbished the reports and has hinted taking legal action against the source of the false story. The reports claim the 34-year-old is under investigation for alleged embezzlement after the Italian police seized his high-end vehicle, a Mercedes valued for more than 150,000 euros, a claim the Ghana international has also denied. Well, let's go back to our earlier story now. Ghana captain Asamoah Gyan is adamant he still has a lot to contribute to the Black Stars as the debate over his continuous stay in the team mounts. Asamoah Gyan has struggled to impart recent Ghana games, triggering suggestions that he may have run his race for the national team. But the record Ghana goal scorer at international level says he is far from done.
For the past 3 years, it has been very difficult for me, talking about fitness level and stuff. But I always try to use my experience and everything. It's not, sometimes somebody might say, oh, he's done. You know, somebody might say, oh, Asamoah Gyan is done. But for me, I don't think I'm done. It's just the circumstances.
Injuries have slowed Gyan down lately, forcing him to miss Ghana's first win of the 2018 World Cup qualifying series in Congo. It added to a frustrating display against the same side in Kumasi, but Gyan argues that judging him based on those 2 games are simply factoring his international record.
The name Asamoah Gyan has been in the eyes of people for quite a long time, you know, so when a Black Star is playing a game, like everybody expects me to score, which is a normal thing.
Gyan, however, admits time is running out for him, especially with the likes of Raphael Jamina, Jordan Ayew and Richmond Boakye-Yadom providing intense competition. He claims it is not easy replacing someone who has done so much like him.
Asamoah Gyan is not going to play forever for the Black Stars, you know, so definitely there will be somebody who will come in and because there are young players coming up, hungry strikers that are coming up. So definitely we will groom them and then we'll make sure everything will be fine in the future. You know, people paved the way for me to be where I am today. You know, there were a lot of strikers that did what they had to do before I came. And I also set standard for myself and then for the nation. You know, we're talking about top scorer in the World Cup history, African top scorer in the World Cup history. You know, the list goes on and on and on. You know, I've done something for myself and for Ghana. So I think the young ones coming, I think they can also learn from it.
Yes, Jordan Ayew now with a chip. Header, goal! Magnificent!
Well, from the Black Stars, let's go over to Ghana's under-17 team now, where the Black Starlets will leave Accra on Wednesday for United Arab Emirates capital of Abu Dhabi for a training camp ahead of their FIFA Under-17 World Cup campaign in India early next month. The Starlets have been drawn alongside host India, United States and Colombia in Group A. But head coach of the side, Pakwesi Fabian, said after months of intensive training, his team is well prepared to face their opponents.
We had their tapes and we've given to our video analyst. I've asked him to analyze their team and give me the breakdown of their play from one stage to the other. He should give me their strength in set pieces. And I think he's working on it, so he will be traveling with us to Abu Dhabi. So when we get there, then we'll look at what the work he has done, and then we'll be able to strategize for those teams. You know, we're 28 and then 3 already dropped. And then 25 are traveling to Abu Dhabi, and I've told them that 4 more players will be dropped. So everybody should put up his best, because in fact the 25 players that are here, any one of them that is picked will do well. I mean, they are all playing well. So everybody should play his part, and then when you don't get the opportunity, don't be despaired. I mean, there are more opportunities ahead. There's under 20, there's under 23. So maybe if you work hard, you might not be in the 17, but you will be camping in the under 20s. Because I'll give them an example of Nkum, who was turned away severally at the under 17 camp, but later on became the camping of the under 20 team. So they should keep working hard.
Also, that's Pakwesi Fabian, the coach of the national under-17s at the Black Starlets. But let's move over to the UEFA Champions League, and it's the group stage. And today there are quite a number of games lined up. Liverpool will take on Sevilla in the UEFA Champions League at Anfield. So Champions League football has returned to Liverpool, and they'll be taking on Sevilla. Quite a tough fixture in there. Also, Maribor will take on Spartak Moscow. Feyenoord, who were winners of the Eredivisie last season, will also take on Manchester City over there. Shakhtar Donetsk will welcome Napoli to their stadium. FC Porto, they won the competition in 2004 and will welcome Besiktas, who are looking very good this season, to the stadium. Also, Rasenballsport Leipzig, the team that finished second in the Bundesliga last season, will also welcome AS Monaco, winners of the Ligue 1 title last season in there. So it's Leipzig against Monaco. And then Real Madrid, the champions of Europe, they've been able to do it back-to-back. Can they win it for a third time? Only time will tell. But they would start their campaign against Apoel Nicosia, and Tottenham Hotspur will also also take on Borussia Dortmund at the Wembley Stadium, where they have failed to win in the past 5 matches. But that's how we end the sports news here. My name is Yao Ofosulabi, and Midday Live continues.
And the Free SHS program has been launched, but not without controversy over its feasibility. Also, Raya has for us a flashback of the Free SHS argument during the 2012 elections. He featured then President Mahama and candidate Akufo-Addo alongside Leo Kron, former Education Minister.
To the Third Republics and also important personalities from across the world. On the day of the country's political independence, on March 6, 1957, the government invited functionaries, including the Duchess of Kent and the Prime Minister of Britain, Mr. Harold Macmillan, to grace the occasion at the Old Parliament House. The Old Parliament House was also used by the Second Republican Parliament to conduct its activities until the Constitution was suspended and Parliament abolished by a military coup organized by the National Redemption Council (NRC) on January 13, 1972. The Old Parliament House was reportedly relocated because of its limited space, as it could not accommodate new MPs elected in the 1992 parliamentary elections. Before the building caught fire in December 2013, the edifice housed the offices of the Commission of Human Rights and Administrative Justice, CHRAJ, used to investigate allegations of corruption and financial impropriety against some leading members of the first government under the Fourth Republic.
A group made up of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition, and the Center for Democratic Development are calling for a total deletion of Subclause 4 of Clause 3 of the proposed Special Prosecutors Bill 2017. The coalition further wants the office of the Special Prosecutor
to the Third Republics and also important personalities from across the world. On the day of the country's political independence, on March 6, 1957, the government invited functionaries, including the Duchess of Kent and the Prime Minister of Britain, Mr. Harold Macmillan, to grace the occasion at the Old Parliament House. The Old Parliament House was also used by the Second Republican Parliament to conduct its activities until the Constitution was suspended and Parliament abolished by a military coup organized by the National Redemption Council (NRC) on January 13, 1972. The Old Parliament House was reportedly relocated because of its limited space, as it could not accommodate new MPs elected